Insomniac Games pulled off something truly special with Spider-Man Miles Morales. At first glance, it might just look like a fresh coat of paint over their 2018 Spider-Man debut, but underneath it's something far more meaningful. This game dropped at the perfect time, a PS5 Launch Exclusive that showed off everything the console could do, while perfectly capturing that cozy Christmas and holiday vibe. Looking back, I've got nothing but good memories of Miles Morales. This was the first real game I played on the PS5. Well, technically I platinumed Astro's Playroom first, but Miles Morales was this short and sweet experience that falls somewhere between a long DLC and a smaller full game, similar to Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. It's crazy to think that both the PS5 and this game turned 5 years old this November. Time really flies. So I went back to revisit it, and wow, it still hits just as hard. If you enjoy thoughtful deep dives and revisits like this one, a quick subscribe would mean a lot. Now let's get into it. First off, the thing that blows me away the most about this game is just how well it uses the PS5 hardware. Even though this whole franchise looks incredible, I personally think Miles Morales is the best looking game in the trilogy. Sure, the sequel might be more technically impressive if played on the Pro or a high-end PC, but on a base PS5, Miles Morales looks amazing thanks to the higher resolution in both fidelity and performance modes. And of course, it brought all those next generation perks like ray trace global illumination, ray trace reflections, and crazy fast load times. At the time, this game's load times on the PS5 were a cultural talking point. Also, how mind-blowing it was to see real reflections on those shiny high rises. Now 5 years later, it feels more like a neat novelty than a jaw-dropping moment. Fun fact, this is one of those rare games I always play on fidelity mode. Even though the performance modes still look great, the reason I always select fidelity mode is simple. It is what happens down at the street level. The sheer number of vehicles and pedestrians on display is absolutely nuts. Take a look at this scene. This is insane. I just love roaming around and saying hi to people. It really makes you feel like you're walking the streets of New York City during the holidays. And that's the game's real magic. How it perfectly captures the holiday season. It feels so cozy to play with Christmas lights and decorations all around the city, in storefronts, cafes, and other noteworthy landmarks. Even indoors, the Morales apartment is decked out perfectly. It just has such a cozy vibe. This game takes the same open world from 2018 and just brings it to life for the holidays. And that's exactly why it's so much fun to explore. The game masterfully depicts both light and heavy snowfall, enveloping the city in a realistic winter atmosphere. When the snow clears, the melting effects add another layer of authenticity. Man, being in the winter of 2020, all curled up in a blanket with a mug of coffee and playing this game, those were the days. Seriously, this is the perfect holiday and Christmas game to play. This vibe also extends to how this game showcases Harlem. Harlem itself is a character in this game. It really gives us a look into who Miles Morales is as a character. His roots, his culture, his love for music, and his community. Even the main story at its core is about protecting and saving Harlem. It's praiseworthy how much world building Insomniac pulled off in just 2 years. It adds a ton of depth to the story, and even most of the side quests makes you feel like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, actually helping people. Speaking of which, the side content in this game is a huge step up compared to the first game. I didn't enjoy the side stuff in the first game at all, but here it's been drastically improved. And thank God for the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man app. It makes tracking everything so much easier, especially the random crimes. Seriously, I still get flashbacks to hunting down random crimes in the first game just to get the Platinum Trophy. Got a little sidetracked there, sorry. It is clear as day that Into the Spider-Verse movie influence is throughout this game, from its energy to its style. The music in this game is also a character. The soundtrack in particular stands out as phenomenal. Several tracks such as Jaden Smith's I'm Ready and Lecrae's This Is My Time remain playlist staples. Even the subtle trap-infused beats that accompany Miles' web swinging perfectly capture his personality and elevate the overall experience. Even the daytime lighting has that soft purple tint. Totally feels like a nod to Into the Spider-Verse. They even added the Spider-Verse suits, which is awesome. And honestly, I think this game has the best suit collection out of all three. It's more about quality than quantity. Some of my absolute favorites are here: the Winter Suit, the Advanced Tech Suit, the Crimson Cowl, and the Miles Morales 2020 suit. Plus, the way these suits blend seamlessly into cutscenes is such a nice touch, something the other games didn't quite nail. The main drawback of returning to Miles Morales, and by extension the original Spider-Man, is how difficult it feels after experiencing the newer and refined swinging features of the latest installment. I really miss the web wings, corner tethers, and slingshots from Marvel Spider-Man 2. Without them, going back to this game just feels slower, even though it's still way faster than the first one. The sheer speed of their 2023 sequel just spoils the fun in the other two games. What I love about swinging as Miles Morales in this game though is all the attention to detail. The swinging has this rookie vibe to it that perfectly captures how inexperienced Miles still is in the story. Like he's still climbing the ladder, figuring it all out. He's just always falling and flailing about. Again, you can really see that Spider-Verse influence shining through. But swinging in this game back in 2020 was such a vibe. I loved seeing everyone making videos of themselves swinging to What's Up Danger, trying to recreate that exact scene from the movie. Again, those were the days. As for combat, honestly, I think this game has the weakest combat in the trilogy. It mostly feels like mindless button mashing with flashy finishers. The new addition, the Venom powers, looks awesome, don't get me wrong. There are 3 or 4 moves Miles can do and they're visually stunning. But in this playthrough, it just makes me feel way too powerful, and it ends up feeling more like watching than actually playing. There's not a lot of control over it. It's mostly about hitting the right button combos at the right time. Even the gadgets and suit mods feel way downgraded in this game. Honestly, I'm not a fan of how they handled them here. So yeah, that's that. I'd love for you to check out my revisits of the other 2 games in the franchise. There's a full playlist linked on the end screen. That'll give you a better idea of where I'm coming from. Now the only thing left to talk about is the story. So the setup's pretty simple. Peter heads out of town for a work trip and leaves Miles in charge of protecting the city on his own until he gets back. A big danger is lurking in Harlem. This experimental new energy source called Nuform, made by Roxxon Corporation, is very unstable and could seriously mess with the civilization. It is now up to Miles to save the day, and really, that's about it. If I had to sum up the story in one sentence, I'd call it a week in the life of Miles Morales. First off, huge credit to Insomniac Games for how they introduced Miles in the first game. Developing him in Peter's shadow was such a smart move. And if you played the DLCs, you know how important they were for his growth. They're basically essential to the bigger picture. Other than that, I don't think this game did enough to push his character further. By the end, I didn't really feel like I knew Miles any better than before. That's not to say the story is bad. It's perfectly serviceable, but it lacks depth and nuance, offering little in the way of surprises or emotional layers to anticipate. And it's nowhere near the writing and depth of the first game, which I consider one of the best Spider-Man stories ever. Spoiler alert for the next few seconds, the reveal that Finn is the Tinkerer, arguably the story's only major twist, feels like it should have been better concealed. Finn's positioning as a close friend to Miles was effective in building tension, and I was really connecting with her, but the narrative is so short that it didn't allow this relationship enough space to develop. Consequently, the reveal loses much of its potential suspense. What I do like about the story is the small cast of characters here. Like I said before, Harlem feels like a real community, and that vibe translates beautifully into the story. Rio Morales is such an incredible character. She's running for mayor and also really acts as the voice of the community. And then there's Genki, who is such a great addition to the story. I love his dynamic with Miles, they just click so well. A character they kind of spoiled in the 2023 sequel, but he's awesome here. So yeah, I don't want to spoil everything, but the story is serviceable, and it's a blast to play even in 2025. Similar to its length, the story reminds me of Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Feeling like the middle 6 hours of the mainline games, it doesn't have the dramatic highs of the ending or the build-up of the beginning. But the mid-game action and set pieces is present here, keeping the experience engaging and enthralling. This has become the hallmark of Insomniac Spider-Man games, how it is this Uncharted meets Spider-Man thing, with blockbuster set-piece moments that are just insane. Two of my favorites in the whole franchise are here, Because of that, it's basically a 7-hour joyride. Back when I got my PS5, I actually beat this story twice in 48 hours. It was just to get the Platinum trophy because 2 playthroughs are required. The story is so short, I just wanted more. Does not matter if you want to revisit it or it is your first time. It's a must play. The game holds up as strong as any other PS5 exclusives even 5 years later, and it's free on PS Plus Extra. With the holiday season coming, this is the perfect game to dive into. I still really hope we get more of these smaller experiences from Insomniac every couple of years, like that Venom game that got leaked. They are just awesome little experiences to play, and the best part is, they don't take forever to develop. Are you a fan of Spider-Man Miles Morales? I'd love to hear your own launch day memories from 2020. Share them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Your support means the world to me. Do check out my other coverage on Spider-Man games, you won't be disappointed. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next week. Rax Plays signing off.